Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Sam Mahalingam. I'm the Senior Vice President for the Enterprise Business. The Enterprise Business primarily includes our PBS works for the high performance computing. We have the Enterprise Business for the Enterprise Business also includes the CA data management and process management for the simulation. And of course, we have our cloud solutions that's part of the Enterprise Business. Of course, very innovative title out there, but I was surely stressed out when I was putting the slides together. And Ravi Kunju, who is our VP for the marketing strategy and enterprise business, is going to join me as well as part of this presentation. So I would invite Ravi for some of the slides where he would be pitching in. The agenda is we're going to look at the Altair's view of the high performance cloud computing. We're going to look at the current HPCC adoption. We're going to see what are the stress points for the HPCC adoption. How is the cloud adoption maturity changing the last few years? Has it changed from the last 5 years? What are Altair's cloud offering? Today, primarily, we are going to focus on two of the offerings, the HyperWorks On Demand and the HyperWorks Unlimited. And the last slide is going to be how can you get started and how can you start using the cloud solutions, Altair's cloud solutions. So to start with, Altair's, so it's always good to define cloud because different individuals have different definitions for cloud. So there's been, out there, the definition for cloud, there are a lot of definitions, but we would like to sort of look at cloud and characterize cloud and see what are the three dimensions that you need to think of when someone says we are talking about cloud. So the three dimensions that I would like to focus on would be what are the cloud characteristics, what are the cloud families, and what are the various implementation models that are out there. And when you talk about the cloud characteristics, these are typically the characteristics that you look at to see whether it's a cloud or it's not. And then, of course, there are the different services that you provide, the infrastructure as a service, the platform, and the software. These are the cloud families. And, of course, the implementation models, whether you want to go with the public cloud, the private cloud, or a hybrid between public and private. And what we would like to say is Altair, in fact, pretty much covers all the three dimensions. And we would like to define cloud as access to one big computer, and I would actually attribute this definition to Bill Nitzberg. He came out with this definition saying access to one big computer is how we define cloud. And when we say it's access to one big computer, we are not only restricting it to the computational resources, but we are also saying it encompasses all the software that's installed on the hardware as well. So that's our definition of cloud, which is access to one big computer. And if you look at the recent IDC report as to the adoption and growth of the cloud, and here they are looking at the various cloud families, which is the platform, the software, and the infrastructure. So in the next 5 years, there seems to, it almost seems to double, and there's going to be a lot of cloud adoption. And now let's see what are the stress points so far, and what's been the friction for the cloud adoption. So typically, if you ask individuals or if you do a survey today, these are the stress points that would come out for the high performance cloud computing. The key being the security and the IP protection. I think that's what a lot of people focus on, saying that, hey, do I really want to go to public cloud or not? And how secure is the public cloud infrastructure? Is my IP really protected out there? And especially when we talk about the engineering in the cloud, we also look at the data mobility and the visualization of the data, because typically when you're doing engineering in the cloud, the results tend to be quite large depending on the solution depending on the problem that you're solving. And we feel that another big item, especially if you talk about engineering in the cloud, is the software license mobility. How easy is it to move your software licenses from your private, from on-premise to the off-premise? Is it really possible? Is it easy to do? Are the end-user license agreements written that way so that you can take your software and run really large jobs on public infrastructures? Now, does the software license, do you really have the software license scalability? Especially if you're running massively parallel jobs, then do you have sufficient licenses to actually run a massively parallel job on the cloud? So is there license scalability? And of course, when we say cloud and when we define it as access to one big computer, is it easy to access these resources, the software and the hardware resources? How easy is it to access to solve a particular problem? And at the same time, is it really easy to use as well? What's your gateway to the cloud? How can you solve a certain problem? And of course, the network latency and the bandwidth are going to be very critical if you're going to talk about the public cloud, especially if you're saying you're going to visualize the large data, because that's going to be a bottleneck as well. So we feel that these are the stress points for the high performance cloud computing adoption. And moving forward in this presentation, we would like to see how are we trying to eliminate some of these stress points so that we create a stress-free zone through Altair cloud solutions or cloud offerings. So this is something I think we picked out of an article. This individual, I think, came from the London School of Business. And so what this article discusses is, in the recent past, how has the cloud adoption maturity been? It pretty much started off about 5 to 6 years back, where it was primarily the cloud adoption was looking at how can we reduce the IT friction, or how can we actually improve the operational efficiency. But the last few years, it has more been the process innovation. Can we really hide the complexity? And are we making it easy to access the resources on the cloud? Are we completely hiding all the complexity of self-service provisioning of the hardware, the complexity of hiding how the softwares are getting installed out there? How do you really leverage all the hardware that's been provisioned on a public data center to basically solve a numerical problem? So how are you trying to hide these complexities, and how are you and how easy is it to actually go towards the cloud adoption? And process innovation was primarily what was being looked into. And off late, if you look at the adoption of the cloud, it's more business innovation. Can I really get a competitive edge if I go to the cloud? Can I reduce the time to market? Can I improve the quality of the product? So these are the items that are being looked at primarily for going to the cloud. And I think that so in the last few years, finally what the customers are looking at for cloud adoption is business innovation to basically get a competitive edge in the marketplace. So having said that, so these are the cloud offerings we have as of today. The first one is HyperWorks Unlimited. We primarily we call it as a managed private cloud solution. It's a bundled solution of software and hardware, and this is primarily for customers who are very paranoid about the security, and at the same time who do lack the expertise to put together a high performance computing infrastructure to maintain it and to sort of solve the engineering problems and to solve the engineering problems. The second solution that we talk about here is the HyperWorks On Demand. This is our public cloud initiative, where we say, especially for the small, medium customers, if you already have HyperWorks units, how can you reuse the units to basically buy infrastructure as a service on the public cloud? And how can you start leveraging your existing units to basically run Altair software on a public infrastructure that is HyperWorks On Demand? And finally, we have our simulation cloud suite, and this is a very comprehensive suite for managing your entire simulation lifecycle on the cloud, let it be private or a public implementation model. And all of these offerings have been put together on a platform, and the platform we use for all our cloud offerings is PBS Works. And what we really get out of all these offerings is access to HyperWorks software on the cloud. Whether it's a private, it's public, or it's going through your entire simulation process, you get access to all of the HyperWorks software, whether these are our batch solvers, these are our visualization application, our concept design application, and that's the benefit that you get with our cloud offerings. So having said that, so what is the gateway to the cloud? And we believe that the gateway to the cloud is going to be our portals. And these portals basically hit on the stress point, which is the ease of access and the ease of use. So we have the different web applications that let you solve your problem on the cloud. Compute Manager is primarily responsible for running, monitoring, and managing your CA jobs. We have Simulation Manager, which gives you the context of a project, especially for simulation. How do you keep track of your goals and KPIs, and how do you sort of figure out what is the traceability and how did you achieve a certain performance target? And now you can also aggregate the different disciplines out there. Then with Display Manager, we basically solve the big data problem, and we say, without transferring the data back on to your premise, if you're solving a problem on the cloud, how can you visualize the data? And how can the network not be a bottleneck? So that's our remote visualization solution. And of course, the next solution that we are going to come out with sometime Q1 of next year is going to be Process Manager, and this is a solution where we are going to capture the simulation process so that it could be repeated, and it also gives us a platform to capture the uniqueness of different organizations, because every organization that does simulation has a unique way of doing simulation. So that once you go through that unique way of doing your simulation, if we capture it through a process, then we can basically make sure that the process will work as a guidance for the future simulations that you do. And so the web portals are going to be our gateway, is going to be the gateway to our cloud offerings. And at the very bottom, you see that we do connect to the different applications. So you have all of HyperWorks. You can connect to PBS Professional for the high performance computing. You can connect to different PDM systems in order to retrieve the CAD to start your simulation lifecycle. You can connect to many different third-party enterprise data sources like material databases, and of course we connect to our own database for managing all of the data that gets generated as part of a simulation. So I don't know whether I want to go through all these details, because we are going to have a follow-up session tomorrow, I believe, Bill, where we are going to talk about Compute Manager and Display Manager. So I'll just skip this slide. All I would say is this is our portal application which provides access to the end users for the high performance computing resources and to basically submit, monitor, and manage their jobs. I'll leave it there. Of course, Display Manager is our remote visualization solution. If you're creating a lot of data sets, especially when you're doing engineering simulation, the data that gets generated as part of the engineering simulation does qualify to be termed as big data, because it is all the three characteristics, which is velocity, volume, and variety, is present as part of the simulation data that gets created. And so how can you visualize the data without downloading the file? This is our solution for it, which is the remote visualization framework that we have put together. With Simulation Manager, what we are trying to do is we are saying, hey, can you do the entire simulation life cycle on the cloud without the movement of data whatsoever? And what we provide with Simulation Manager is we provide a context so that you can start off with a project and say, these are the performance targets I would like to achieve. These are the goals that I would like to achieve with this project. You can create a project for a single domain like structures, and you can do several analysis. You can also you can have individual projects for each one of the domains like structures, crash, and kinematics, and then you can aggregate it onto a larger project so that you can bring all these different domains together, and you can actually go through an entire program, whether it's a new model year of a car or a new airplane that you're going to come out with as part of your next generation product. And what we do as part of the Simulation Manager is we seamlessly integrate to all the different resources that you need to use in order to go through your simulation lifecycle. So when we say integrate through the Simulation Manager, once you are done with the modeling, so as part of the modeling, you can actually invoke HyperMesh as your preprocessor. You can do your entire modeling using Display Manager without having HyperMesh on your local desktop. You can save the model gets automatically gets persisted into the project. And then the next step would be you could take this model and you could submit it to a high performance computing cluster to basically solve and get the results. Once you have the results, you can use our results visualization solution to basically look at the results one slice at a time to see whether the job indeed converged or not. If the job did not converge, there's no point performing a detailed analysis. And if you indeed believe that the job converged and you have meaningful results, then you can use Display Manager again seamlessly from within the Simulation Manager environment to open up Hyperview and do your post-processing. And once you post-process, you generate all your reports. The reports go back into the project structure. And then you evaluate your KPIs to see whether you have met your performance targets or not. And if you have not met your performance targets, you then create a new variant so that you change your inputs and you go through the whole cycle of solving the problem till you reach your performance targets. So we also provide different dashboards to the managers to see whether where your project stands and how many different variants you created, and in each one of the variants, what was the change that was made. Did you make a geometry change? Did you make a load case change? So all these things are tracked. The traceability is available for you. The lineage is available for you to look into on a later date if something goes wrong. And of course, finally, we do connect to many different enterprise data stores so that we connect to PDM systems to retrieve CAD, and we also connect to PDM systems to push back the aggregated KPIs once the targets are reached. We can connect to either a local file system or a remote file system and work with the files that gets included into the project. So this is the overview of Simulation Manager. And to talk about our managed private cloud solution, I would invite Ravi Kunju so that he can go through the managed private cloud, and then I'll come back and go through HyperWorks On Demand. That's our public cloud offering. Ravi?
Thanks, Sam. If you look at a structure of what Sam was talking about, I think just want to put things in context. We talked about our public cloud, that details of which Sam will come back and talk to you, which is called a HyperWorks On Demand. It lets you put your feet into the water for those of you who are paranoid about using cloud technologies. That's number one. The number two is for the paranoid and those who are dealing with large data and large amounts of simulations to be done. We have a private cloud appliance, and we're trying to make the HPC completely easy. Maybe scary to some of you in the workload management space, but in our own space, we're trying to create an environment which is extremely easy for the end engineers to use HPC effectively. So we're taking the complete complexity from determining a hardware vendor, trying to figure out which, whether to go with Intel or AMD for the class of problems we deal with, the types of problems you deal with, and whether to which workload management to bring on board, what cluster management tools to use, what application software to use. We're eliminating all that stuff, and it's one vendor to deal with, and that's Altair. And that is the genesis of HyperWorks Unlimited. And fortunately, we're extremely lucky to have the entire stack in our portfolio, right from the workload management as well as the application software. So we could be extremely innovative in offering this HyperWorks Unlimited. So in a nutshell, and again, this is HyperWorks Unlimited, and then we will also, Sam talked about the simulation cloud suite, and I think our vision is eventually when we can capture the application software, the data management aspect of it, you can pretty much do, our vision is that you can pretty much do the entire product lifecycle management on the cloud. It's the vision we are marching towards, so we're creating all our web tools on that premise. Now, the HyperWorks Unlimited is our on-premises CAE private, and I would also add managed cloud appliance that gives you unlimited use of our application software created by Altair. Now, you've seen this slide probably 400 times today, but I'm going to take the pleasure of clicking on this again. It is our vision. It completely dovetails with our vision where we're providing a mechanism for organizations to radically change their design process. And it is extremely attractively priced, and it's priced for lease. So just like our customers buy software, they buy the software and they get the hardware with it, not the other way around. Number three, we're completely fully configured, the hardware with workload management and the application software. You get a web portal. It's completely loaded with Altair software, and it's completely configured to run our applications. And we'll talk about the configuration of applications in a second. And in addition to that, it provides you unlimited use of Altair's software. This is one of the deterrents that Sam was talking about, license mobility and scalability. This kicks it out of the park. Okay? Now, our logo is very simple. You lease this, you roll it in, you power it up, you connect it, you simulate, and you innovate. And this is not just a tagline. We recently, just last week, we shipped a big machine to our German office for their own private cluster. After 3 hours of the machine rolling in, they ran their first 128 core Radios job in 3 hours. It's unheard of in the HPC space. Okay. Now, why are we doing this? And obviously, you do know that it's completely powered with a HyperWorks application software layer. And obviously, we pride ourselves in the fact that there are over 2,500 customers today using our products to make great products. The planes you fly into the conference today, the cars you drive, the phones you use, every product, highly engineered product, uses some component of Altair's technology. So we have that pedigree. Number two, we can probably say, we did a count very quickly, some of the largest clusters use our workload management tool, and many of you are familiar with this. And we have the highest level of security for that, EAL3 certified. And I think we did a count of it, and I think we came up, I think it's a very conservative number. We manage over 2 million cores around the world. So not only do we have great application software, we know what HPC is, and we also have the entire infrastructure to do the full lifecycle management on the cloud as well, with our simulation cloud suite, where you can elevate not only your simulation data, but your entire project management infrastructure for traceability and tracking of the key performance indicators and elevating that into the enterprise, right from the personal all the way to the enterprise. Now, what are the feature benefits? Obviously, it's a single throat to choke. This is what we usually call, it's a single vendor to deal with. If there's an HPC problem, typically what we've noticed is you don't know who to deal with, whether you're dealing with a hardware vendor, the application vendor, the workload management, so on and so forth. In this case, we not only eliminated the food chain, but we also eliminated the whole transactional cost, the whole operational cost associated with dealing with multiple vendors. The single vendor, so that's the biggest benefit, and it's financially attractive. It moves from a capital expense to an operational expense because it's a lease. You lease this machine. You lease this HyperWorks Unlimited appliance, and it's unlimited HyperWorks units for application software. So it gives you the idea of doing infinite exploration, doing all kinds of scenario computations and so on and so forth. And it's completely fully integrated. And one thing, when we launched this, a lot of people were asking, well, we don't just use HyperWorks. We use some competitive products. Shame on them. But anyway, we said, fine, we will support that as well. So we support third-party as well. Now, this is the unlimited configuration. And one thing I do want to point out is because we understand the domain so well, we've carved out, obviously, all our configurations come standard with a massive head node. For some of you in the very, very large clusters, probably this doesn't look very attractive. But from a manufacturing domain, this is pretty good. And we have created two different compute nodes, which is basically where you do the parallel computation. And the one is for explicit computation, where there is massively parallel applications. And we've created another flavor where we do implicit simulations, where it is memory intensive and a lot of I/O. So there's multiple disks on this configuration, and there's a lot of beefy memory as well. So there are two flavors of compute nodes that you can pick. And in addition, as Sam was pointing out, when you do a large amount of simulation, you generate tons and tons of data. And we've added Display Manager as our remote visualization product, where you don't have to move data back and forth, right? You could do all the visualization with your favorite application that you use on your desktop but the graphics card is on the remote, on the server side. So we've configured a graphic node as well for remote visualization, which is very similar to the implicit node, but the only thing there is we have an NVIDIA 4000 graphics card there. So we've tested it on pretty large models, and it works phenomenally well. And again, the fiber, the interconnect fiber, we don't deal with anything less than InfiniBand because we're usually running very large scale problems. And so the InfiniBand is the interconnect. And there are many different types of configurations that you can get. And we've also carved out, looking at our profile of customers, you can get a 25U rack, or you can go up to a 42U rack, and you can get multiple racks as well. So we've made certain configurations, and so a lot of our customers come and ask us what kind of hardware to run it on, so we kind of completely configure it for them. So if you look at the things that the HyperWorks Unlimited addresses, it kicks out the security and IP protection out of the park, because it's within your premises, number one. Number two, network latency and bandwidth, kicks that out of the park because it's within your domain. If you have latency within your domain, you got to get a better pipe internally. Okay. Now, data mobility and visualization, it kicks that out of the park because it has a graphics node. You can do remote visualization there. Software scalability, it kicks that out of the park because you get unlimited access to our software. License mobility and scalability. If you're running any kind of job, whether it's a large job or if you're running a stochastic or a design of experiments where you're running 500, 1,000 different jobs, you can span it through the machine, and there's no limit on the licenses on that machine. So you can run large-scale design studies as well. Access and usability. You have access within your four walls. Usability is an extremely important point here. We want to give engineers a tool that they don't have to worry about configuring it, trying to figure out where to run it, what kind of hardware to do. It's one web portal. It's loaded with all the applications that you have. You just it's in a drop-down button. You choose what application you want, and all the fields are automatically loaded for you for all the input files you would need to run the analysis. And you just like using Gmail or any of the favorite application you use on the web, the interface is exactly like that. So we kick that out of the park, so you don't have a Linux terminal flashing in front of you, right? You just have a complete web portal to submit, monitor, and manage your job. So that's, in essence, the HyperWorks Unlimited.
So we'll now move on to our public cloud initiative. This initiative started off as an experiment a couple of years ago. So what we really wanted to do was, we said, okay, so we are coming up with our vision for our enterprise products, and how can we take the enterprise suite that we are coming out with, and can we really provide a public cloud offering? And that is an experiment that we wanted to perform and see whether we can use our PBS as a platform, can we use our portals as a gateway, and can we provide infrastructure as a service. So what we did a couple of years ago was we built our own data center. That was an investment from Altair. Our intent is not to manage a large data center, so we started off with quite a number of cores to onboard some of our existing customers to use infrastructure as a service and software as a service. And eventually, if the business really grows, then our intent is to burst out to other data centers for the load. But this initiative has really worked well. So in this case, in the unlimited case, you saw the tagline at the bottom. In this case, you sign up, you basically say how many cores do you want, what software do you want to use, you log in, you simulate, and you innovate. So that is how simple HyperWorks On Demand is. We have a couple of customers using it, and in fact, we also have one customer for whom we have taken care of the ITAR compliancy. So HyperWorks On Demand is our public cloud initiative. It is powered by our PBS Works for the platform, and all of our HyperWorks software is available on HyperWorks On Demand. One of the customers, HIDAC, they actually were using it for solving some of the CFD problems, and they got pretty good results. And there are also a couple more customers who are using it for many different applications. So this was just one testimonial that we wanted to put in here as to how HyperWorks On Demand public cloud is being used to solve some of the fluid problems, the CFD problems. As part of the HyperWorks On Demand, we do provide infrastructure as a service, we do provide software as a service, but we do not provide platform as a service. The platform is to basically enable, the platform enables us to provide both infrastructure as a service and software as a service. So these are the HyperWorks software batch applications that are available on HyperWorks On Demand. You have Radios, you have AccuSolve for CFD, you have OptiStruct for structural optimization, and of course you have the batch measure. So these softwares are available, and very soon all of our graphical applications will also be available on HyperWorks On Demand, because the graphics nodes are being initiated as we speak. The business model for HyperWorks On Demand is you could reuse your existing HyperWorks units to basically purchase hardware cycles, or you can buy hardware cycles for cash for a certain duration. So we support both the models. So this provides a frictionless path for our existing customers, especially for their peak demands, especially for computational resources, to come to HyperWorks On Demand, because they can reuse their HyperWorks units to buy infrastructure as well. Onboarding into HyperWorks On Demand, 3 easy steps. You first sign up, and then users are authorized to log into the HyperWorks On Demand portal. So the same portals that you use in-house, the Compute Manager, Display Manager, and Simulation Manager, will be available on HyperWorks On Demand for you to work with the HPC resources, do the remote visualization, as well as manage your entire simulation lifecycle. You exchange HyperWorks units for hardware and software. We can either draw those units from your existing customer pool, or you could actually move your HyperWorks units into hosted HyperWorks units. That's something that we are coming out as well. We are going to host the HyperWorks units on the cloud, so that once you purchase our HyperWorks units, it will be on the cloud, and you could actually run our software from anywhere. You could either run the software from within within your 4 walls, or you could actually run our software on infrastructure as a service like Amazon or HyperWorks On Demand, and we would be in a position to seamlessly access your units from the cloud. So we provide tremendous license mobility out there. And finally, you just use our portals. This is where the ease of use comes in. You use our portals to submit, monitor, visualize, and manage your simulation lifecycle. So these are the 3 easy steps how we onboard you into HyperWorks On Demand. So I also spoke about hosted HyperWorks units. This is something that we are also coming out with. The hosted HyperWorks units, our license server will be hosted on Amazon. The reason why we chose Amazon was Amazon has data centers all over the world. So when our customers do use our software and they would want to check out units, HyperWorks units, then they would go to the nearest data center, nearest Amazon data center to check out these units. The benefits for our customer is we provide license mobility, so that you could move your existing HyperWorks units that you've already procured onto the cloud, so that you could run our software now on any infrastructure as a service, whether it's Amazon, SGI Cyclone, or HyperWorks On Demand. It's ease of access to our application software, reduced IT overhead, because the customers don't have to manage the license servers anymore. We take on that burden and maintenance. And of course, it provides ease of accounting and traceability as well. So going back to the stress-free points, security and IP protection, yes, we do provide all the relevant security measures that any public cloud infrastructure would provide. Network latency and bandwidth, this is something that we cannot do anything. We do have a certain pipe that is coming into our HyperWorks On Demand. Now, depending on what kind of data is being moved, you would have to look at the latencies and the bandwidth. But of course, with the remote visualization, what we are looking at is you don't have to move your large files back. So which means instead of sending large amounts of data on the pipe, you are just sending pixels. So it is automatically reducing the amount of data that goes on the network. data mobility problem is being solved so that you don't have to move the data through physical disk if your results files are 500 GB, if downloading them is going to be a problem. You could just hold all of your data on the cloud and you can visualize it using the remote visualization technology and manage it there. Software scalability, now if you have sufficient units to run your software on the cloud, move your units to hosted HyperWorks model, and you can basically run our software and scale anywhere and everywhere. License mobility, again, you could use your existing HyperWorks units to buy infrastructure or to run your software on the public cloud. Of course, finally, access and usability, we use the same portal products that you use in-house to even access the cloud resources. So the last slide, are you ready to take off into the cloud for the product innovation? We are ready. Please visit our booth. Please talk to our account managers. We'll be more than happy in answering all your queries and in figuring out how we can pave a path for you to move to the cloud to solve your engineering problems that you have.